following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
On the air.
Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. The man they call Meathead, joined by Matthew Thomas. Matthew Thomas, welcome to Sudden Impact Radio. I think this is your first time, right?
This is my first time in the Sudden Impact Studios. Yes, indeed.
Sudden Impact Studios. It's like an oxymoron. But I behest. Welcome to Sudden Impact Radio. Folks, if you want to call in and you want to interact on the program, the number to call in, area code 347-996-5278, or toll free at 877-317-9772. Plus, if you use the hashtag Sudden Impact Radio, you may get your tweet read on the air. We're ramping it up. You saw the tweet we threw out earlier today. We are ramping up. They are on the road to Bound for Glory, and it is time. It's time to really get those final programs going, Matthew. It's time to, kind of start pairing people up, and we saw a bunch of that tonight. In general, what is the main thing you're going to take away from Impact tonight, as we just saw it go off the air?
Overall, a very good progression to Bound for Glory. Some of the main matches that we've gotten made up, the Cowboy James Storm, Bobby Roode, that I felt like we had a great build towards. Going off the air with Austin Aries, the Bully Ray situation there, that kind of threw a wrench into things a little bit. But overall, one thing I was really glad to see tonight, I felt like we got some progression as far as Austin Aries versus Jeff Hardy goes, mainly in the Austin Aries character. Now, the whole Bully Ray thing, that's kind of a little wrench in the equation, if you will.
Yeah, and wrench in the equation it is, because, if you think about it, going forward to Bound for Glory, where would you have Bully Ray, on the card? Is Bully Ray taking on some just random guy, or is he in the mix with Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries in a triple threat for the title? I wonder if that's the direction they're going. Right now, that the water's a little murky. I don't see anything else for Bully Ray to do but that main event title picture.
Absolutely, and my thought tonight, seeing how the match was set up and Austin Aries basically playing the game of one-upsmanship with Jeff Hardy was, I'm thinking, Bully Ray, he's basically kind of becoming the whipping boy. Hardy's going to have beaten him last week, and presumably Aries is going to beat him again this week, but that was not the way things played out. So murky water indeed. It's going to be interesting these next couple of weeks to see what direction they go in with that. I personally think that, especially after tonight, it seems like there's a pretty good story there with Hardy Aries. So I was really starting to kind of get into that equation tonight, especially with kind of the envious side of Austin Aries coming out. So just when you think you know what's going on, I guess they changed the question, right?
Yeah, and they've kind of been doing that for, I'd say, a couple months now. As we had talked on this program over the last literally almost a year, they're building back towards Bobby Roode and James Storm. It's going to be for the belt. Bobby Roode will win the Bound for Glory series. Roode will be champion going in, and they're going to take that to main event. And they flipped the script on us. But they didn't take the match away. They just took the title belt away.
They didn't take the match away. You've still got that story there. And I was very, very pleased with the way that played out. 6 months ago, if you'd have told me that we would have Austin Aries as the TNA champion going into Bound for Glory, defending that title, and Bobby Roode, James Storm, that was the match. I almost thought the Bound for Glory series was going to be just a formality to get us there, but hats off to TNA for doing something different and going in a different direction to keep things interesting.
Yeah, and again, really no shenanigans, really no chuckles, really no, ha-has with TNA Impact over the last, 6 months, year. They really have focused on a mix. And, we've always kind of given them a hard time about when they were going to have, what the hell is his name, King Mo come in, and then, you were going to have Batista, who was on the MMA Uncensored right after, and we were talking about this cross between wrestling and, mixed martial arts. And you know what? I think the result that we have now, here today, when they started doing this, 6-8 months ago, I think I like the result because it's still our wrestling. It's still, technically, quote-unquote, good guy versus bad guy or good female versus bad female, angles, pretty girls. But this is the result of what they said they were going to do, which was get in, a little bit more realistic fighting style.
Absolutely. Since TNA going live earlier this summer, there has been a definite positive upswing in the overall product, and I don't think it's not owed just to being live every week. It definitely seems like there's a freshness there that you didn't have in years past. And I have been, up until Bound for Glory, I have been very, very, very pleased with the product they've been putting out. I hope they can keep that continuing the next couple of weeks into their big pay-per-view. This is basically the TNA equivalent to WrestleMania. So I look forward to seeing what they do finally end up offering for the card, and hopefully it's a great pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, we're on the road. It's not the road to WrestleMania. We're not bumping over, what used to be No Way Out or St. Valentine's Day Massacre to get to WrestleMania. But we are on the road to Bound for Glory, and they are building it and treating it that way. So let's talk about Impact tonight, though. Let's talk about a recap of everything that happened last week. Now, last week's show was coming off a pay-per-view. So, it was that, where you're supposed to set your way. That was the beginning of the road. That was brick number one in the road to Bound for Glory. It was a recap of Tara turning on Miss Tessmacher. So we've got Tara as a heel now, kind of swing that. You can kind of see where that's going. Al Snow giving out the challenge to Joey Ryan Online, at Joey Ryan Online. The only, as you mentioned in Twitter earlier, Matthew, the only one out of this gut check that's really had any kind of second chance, any kind of appearance on TV after their gut check gimmick was over. We also saw James Storm went right after Bobby Roode, and of course Aces and Eights, and their interaction with Hogan, their interaction with some of the other talents in the arena. So they started the show tonight, Matthew, and I was really worried when I saw him. He is the Man of Steel, and we all know that he's a huge wrestling fan. And when I say huge, I mean that in a literal and figurative way. Shaquille O'Neal opened up the show tonight with the Hulkster, and I'm kind of glad the way it worked out because Shaq was in the opening segment, and that was it.
Yeah, put him in there, and it surprised me in the opening segment. To me, that's still star power for TNA right there. So put him in the opening segment, but just please don't drag him into a match or anything further, or have him getting kidnapped by Aces and Eights or anything. Opening segment for Shaq to maybe get some channel flippers to say, I know that guy and I know that guy too, and to stay tuned for a little while was perfectly enough for me.
Yeah, you know what? And again, you guys out on the Twitter world also said that as well. We're a little nervous about Shaquille O'Neal showing up during Impact, but you know what? His interaction was fine. It's not the biggest star power you're going to get, but so what? It was okay. Infinity One Productions at Infinity One Prod did mention, why do I have the feeling this is going to be a bad episode? You know what? They turned it. That was it. Shaq's one interaction, even though you had it in the back of your mind, dude, you know what? Shaq was on. I hope he's not going to show up. Please, 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 no Shaq, no Shaq. It's kind of like you're playing that game, Press Your Luck. Matthew, I don't know how old you are, but if you've ever seen Press Your Luck, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy, stop. I was chanting, rocking back and forth on my couch going, no Shaq, no Shaq, no Shaq, no Shaq.
But hey, if you go from back 6 or 7 months ago when they were having, two guys that I didn't recognize from some type of repo reality show, repo in LAX's car or whatever. You go from that to Shaq. That's a little bit of a step up for TNA there, though.
I tell you what, last week was my first time ever seeing that repo games ever, because it was on after, because again, right now I'm watching, I forget the fighter's name, but, you'll leave Spike TV on afterwards. And that repo games is actually kind of funny. It's actually pretty damn funny. Nothing I would spend more than a day on, but, you go from that, you go from Pac-Man Jones being one half of the World Tag Team Champions, you go from Chris Rock getting hit over the head with a guitar, they're up to Shaquille O'Neal now, so, they got some celebrity interaction. Yeah, moving on up. Too bad he passed. Sherman Hemsley no longer with us. Otherwise, maybe we can get him too.
There you go.
It's open fight night, so again, the rules open fight night. Now, let's not start picking on the rules of TNA with Hogan and the rules of fight night, because I think I also saw you tweet something out, and it's been my pet peeve on this very program week after week after week. When they started the open fight night concept, they said the TV champion was going to be on TV every week. Matthew was the TV champion on TV tonight.
I don't think I've seen the TV champion in a long, long time. He was not. We did get a promise that he'll be on next week, but that was, almost verbatim from Hogan. The TV champion is going to defend every single week, and that lasted 3 or 4 weeks.
About a minute. About a minute. That's what we say around here. It was about a minute. And no explanation from Hogan whatsoever. They do open up with AJ Styles coming out to the ring, and, he's got Kurt Angle with him. They get on the microphone. Just a recap. AJ got screwed. Kurt and AJ got screwed. They lost their belts to Daniels and Kazarian. And, again, I like what TNA did as far as bringing it all back home again. How long ago was it that, AJ and Kaz, Daniels and Kaz kind of worked them over for the belts and got the belts back. They've brought it all the way full circle back to, them having the rematch again. And, again, you could see this kind of coming. It was very textbook wrestling. There was a tag team match between the two number one contenders, ended in quote-unquote shenanigans. Here comes the tag team champs. Here comes Hogan. And he says, you know what, screw this. He made it easy for me. It's a three-way dance at the pay-per-view. Done. We're talking wrestling by the book. What did you think?
Absolutely, and it's going to be a good three-way tag match. If you think back to, I believe it was Slammiversary, when we had Angle and AJ versus Kaz and Daniels, one of the better tag matches I've seen in quite some time. And I think with the addition of Chavo and Hernandez, I think they're definitely going to deliver. It's going to be a great tag match, no doubt in my mind. Just watching it, I'm kind of torn on it, though. The thing with me is when I see AJ and Kurt Angle caught up in a tag team together, I look at those two guys. They are two great singles competitors. And like we referenced back to a little earlier in the broadcast, you've got, and I know these guys from Gut Check aren't ready, but you've got those people that you've supposedly brought up. You've got an X division that is really not getting much of a spotlight. There are guys on that roster that are not getting a lot of attention, and to have, a lot of big names caught up in that tag division where maybe you could be highlighting some of your younger talent and throwing them in there, that's kind of the dilemma that I face when I watch it. I know these guys are going to deliver a stellar match, but at the same time, as opposed to throwing two of your bigger name talents together, like an AJ and a Kurt Angle, is that a spot that you could use to basically highlight some of your younger talent on the roster?
That would be a great philosophy if this was not Bound for Glory. This is Bound for Glory. This has to be a very top-heavy from top to bottom, all cards, in, all hands on deck. You have to have every star doing everything. And, it's one thing to have them highlighted, say, in a Ultimate X match or a, what's the cage called? I'm drawing a blank here. It's the Dome.
Man, yeah.
Jeff
Jarrett, King of the Mountain?
No, the Dome, where you can climb over.
Lethal Lockdown.
Nope, that's the straight-up one with the cage. This
I'm
literally is like folks out on Twitter, folks out in the chat room, somebody help me with the name of this one. It's red, and I'm telling you, I saw it at the Sears Center when I went to Bound for Glory there. It's not Ultimate X, it's something. They also used it on their first ever live Monday Night Impact.
Okay, I'm seeing it right now. I'm seeing it, but I can't. It's not coming to me.
It's so right there. But anyways, that'd be a great place to highlight these new guys. Let them run around and flip-flop and do whatever they got to do in that match. But this is Bound for Glory. We need all the big names. We need your Kennedys. We need your WWE, quote-unquote rejects. They're not rejects, but we need your, guys with name power, star power, pay-per-view power. We need those guys on the top of the pay-per-view, up and down. So, great idea, but like I said, it's Bound for Glory. We got to have it. I want to get real quick to what came after the opening match, and watching Al Snow with his apparently new haircut, which is the biggest story for Al going besides the Joey Ryan thing. If TNA wants to be, and again, I'm going to poke holes in this. if TNA wants to be a top-notch company, for the love of all that is frickin' holy, man, sync up the audio. Did you see it?
I felt like I was watching Godzilla or one of those dub movies from the 30s or something. I mean, it was. I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, but you laughed at those.
Well, I laughed at this too. So, but yeah, I mean that. And was it last week or was it the week before? We've seen multiple times too, where you have the screen like on the Windows Media Player or something where somebody.
Oh no, that was
moves
Apple.
the mouse.
It was a Mac. Yeah, I could see it. It was a Mac.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I mean,
somebody bumped the mouse.
Yeah, I mean those two things. I mean, it's you got to get that stuff straight.
They got to get straight. And again, I understand that, when you're getting your Hogan and your, Dixie Carter, you're going to tape those segments. You're not going to, record them live. They're off doing whatever. But come on, we need some professionalism, and that just is, it's Bush League. It is definitely Bush League, and we can't have it. Folks, if you want to interact with the program, again, hashtag Sudden Impact Radio, or the numbers to call in, 347-996-5278, 877-317-9772. We will be taking calls a little bit later in the program. So, again, the Terror Dome, the Red Cage and TNA, brought to us by Legacy 3D. Thank you, Legacy 3D. It was the TNA Terror Dome.
All right.
Oh, that was going to hurt my head for a while. I'm telling you, I could see it. I was there. Yeah. I do want to sleep tonight. So the next match is our gut check match, and it's Evan Markopoulos, something like that, maybe. That
sounds right.
It's a Greek name against Doug Williams or Douglas Williams, excuse me. Of course, Douglas Williams was going to win the match, but I thought he kept in there. This is an 18-year-old kid that had already been wrestling for 5 years, and he looked like he had 5 years in. Granted, he also looked like he was 18, but, as we're going to, kind of foreshadow into the conversation between Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries, we're the same age, buddy, but you've done so much more in the business and you've been doing it for so much longer than I have. That's what we, could be looking at. We could be looking at a young, Jeff Hardy, when he was 18, when he was 19. So how did you feel that our young gut check competitor looked tonight?
He seemed to hang pretty tight with Doug Williams. I mean, I was overall impressed with the performance. As I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier, my thing with gut check, it's starting to get to the point where I'm starting to lose a little bit of interest. And I know you're not going to bring these guys on TV the next week and throw them into a feud with somebody, but the simple fact that we really haven't seen anybody in any capacity except for the Joey Ryan angle that they're currently working, it really, I'm almost watching it now thinking, okay, so what is this going to mean long term? I know somebody's going to come out here, going to hopefully see a pretty decent match. Most likely, I mean, the veteran, the gut check guy is not going to win. You pretty much know the outcome prior to going in. And I'm thinking, man, I can't even remember the people that have gone through gut check earlier this year and made it through. Like, I can't, going off the top of my head, I'm having a hard time remembering the people. So I guess my big thing is I'm at the point with gut check now where I'm basically just trying to gather the importance of it all.
Yeah, and it's funny you say you can't remember them, you're struggling. I can't remember exactly how many there were. I know there was a girl. I know she had some neon colors. That's it. That's all I remember of it. I remember, Joey Ryan. And if gut check was strictly made for Joey Ryan, I think that's a fail. There had to have been a better way to bring Joey Ryan in, but Joey Ryan just has the look of a star.
Right.
There could have been a better time. I was going to say there could have been a better time that he could have been brought in because, honestly, I would have a hard time distinguishing those two, him and Austin Aries apart. They feel like the same guy to me.
Right. Very, very strong similarities there, no doubt. No doubt. I think Joey Ryan supposedly has a little more sleaze than Austin Aries. Apparently he's bringing sleazy back from what I hear.
Intentionally, too. Yeah, intentionally, too, which makes it funny. To be honest, that's what makes me like the guy. Let's talk James Storm and Bobby Roode. And we're not going to get too deep into the match as much as we're going to get into the very classy individual at ringside. Again, TNA, you're a live program, Where's that 7-second button? Who's asleep at the wheel? Because she was quite the winner, just yelling white trash word after white trash word. I mean, just bomb after bomb. Ridiculous.
Wow, there was a lot of fan audio that got through tonight. I don't know if you caught the segment when Christy Hemme was called out, and there was something uttered ringside by a gentleman calling her a working girl, I believe.
I did not. Thank you, Matthew, for cleaning it up. You will be earning the award for being the professional on the program, because it won't be me.
Well, Brandon, I can't take all the credit. I believe he literally called her a working girl. So this was actually a gentleman, a very classy gentleman at ringside who, had it cleaned up from the start. So that's, every now and then you get a classy ringside fan like that at a TNA show.
Yeah, you sure do. The fight between Storm and Rude was. Dave Hero put this out. I'm surprised it wasn't saved for Bound for Glory, but, I'm going to kind of counterpoint that and say, you know what? It's okay to do this type of fight with Rude and with James Storm, because when you get to the pay-per-view, you're going to have a classic wrestling match between the two of them. It'll get a little rough. There may be some beer bottles. There may be some chairs. There may be some, hardcore style to it, but it's okay to do the brawl at this point, because they're going to build to that match at Bound for Glory.
Absolutely, and I thought this segment was very well done on many levels. Coming into the show last week, I just assumed that they were going to go ahead and announce this for Bound for Glory. But if you think about the actual psychology, you think about Bobby Roode costing James Storm his shot at the title and having open fight night the following week, it would not, if you really stopped and thought about it, it would not make sense for him to come out and not challenge him on open fight night and just say, hey, I want you at the pay-per-view. So by having him come out tonight and challenge him on open fight night, it made sense when you really look at it from a rational perspective like that. And to kind of go along with your point there, Meathead, I think they did a good job in not making you feel like, well, there's the match right there. I don't need to order the pay-per-view. The match, like you said, it was a brawl. 85% of it took place on the floor. It took place outside. You did not feel like you were getting an actual match per se. And this may seem like a small little minor thing, but if you noticed, Bobby Roode was in his street clothes, or at least in his dress pants, the entire time. And I think that subtly kind of gives you a visual clue. Well, although it was technically a match because the bell rung, it didn't really have that look and that feel of the match. So I don't really think that they lost anything there by giving us that tonight. I think if it did anything, it basically just helped maybe sell some pay-per-views come a couple of Sundays from now.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And kind of adding on to your point of my point, but adding on, you're right, when you see, and not to, compare apples to, say, pizza, but WWE, when they do their street fights, the guys come out in jeans. They come out in a T-shirt, and then they come out with their wrist taped. Something like that just happened tonight. Bobby Roode was still dressed in his business attire, said, you know what, I'll fight you in my Dockers. I'll fight you with my... I have my dress shoes, my Ric Flair, styling and profiling shoes. So, yeah, the tiny little detail, but a tiny little detail that made sense. Main event tonight was Austin Aries and Bully Ray. And, again, we talked about it at the beginning of the program tonight. I think Bully Ray, and this might just be, us kind of foreshadowing, I think Bully Ray just fought himself into the main event of the pay-per-view.
Very possible, and as the Bound for Glory series drew to a close, that was the direction that I was hoping they were going to go in. I was hoping he was going to be in that match in some capacity, because over the last 2 years, he's just, at least in my eyes, he's come so far as a singles competitor. And I was hoping that, maybe this might be his time to get in that main event picture. But when you started to stop and look at it, I mean, Aries with Jeff Hardy. You've got when you're putting on a poster, you've got the familiarity with Jeff Hardy to the casual fan who may not necessarily follow TNA that closely, but they know Hardy. So that seemed to make a little more sense as far as selling the pay-per-views. So I don't know, maybe you could possibly have the best of both worlds now with Hardy still in that main event, but also with Bully Ray, who I don't think necessarily has the name or the notoriety or the draw that Jeff Hardy would. But I mean, there's people that you put him in that main event picture too. Maybe you get some of the fans in who were not big Jeff Hardy fans, but they can harken back to Bully Ray as well, and you've got Jeff and Bully in the main event picture too, and maybe that brings some of the nostalgia for those old TLC matches. So I can see it.
Right.
I can see it either way.
Right, and as far as building that poster, we've heard Dave Hero talk about that many times before. The poster already has Sting on it. It already has Hogan on it. It's got Kurt Angle. It's got AJ Styles. It's got Jeff Hardy. It's got Bully Ray. It's got Austin Aries. It's got all those guys on it. It's already got Chavo on it. I mean, so they've got that cross appeal, to the casual fan that they say, hey, maybe this is a show I should be checking out, which obviously everyone should check out Bound for Glory on pay-per-view coming up next month. But to that point, how did you feel overall, pass, fail? How was Impact tonight for you?
I'd have to give it a pass. I felt like that it did what I felt like a show a couple of weeks removed from the pay-per-view should do. It got me excited about the matches that are announced. Like I said, I think they did a great job with the Rude Storm build, and there's still some intrigue there too. I feel like I need to tune in next week to see what's going to go on with the title picture, with Bully Ray, Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries, and Aces and Eights. They continue to progress that. I think it tends to get a bit hokey at times, but there is that intrigue there that makes you want to keep tuning in to see what the payoff is.
Yeah, that's what we're waiting on, and we've talked about it on the program here for months now, that the Aces and Eights has been going on, or the ninjas that kidnap Taz is what we started calling them. But we need the payoff, and we're all worried that it may be Jeff Jarrett running Aces and Eights. I threw out that it could be, or a couple of us threw out that it could be Dixie. We've also mentioned that it could be. Somebody said Brooke Hogan. And, again, I forget who it was right off the top of my head. But I will tell you, in that huge brawl that they had in the ring no more than a couple weeks ago, I swear I saw Garrett Bischoff accidentally get unmasked.
That's what we need. We need a combo of Brooke Hogan and Garrett Bischoff in Aces and Eights. That needs to be the two head guys right there. That would be that'd be the ticket, wouldn't it?
Oh, I just got it on my microphone. Oh, sorry.
Oh man. Well, coming away tonight, though, the more that I see, it's starting to look to me. I think Joseph Park is in too many segments now regarding Aces and Eights, and we've never gotten that full Joseph Park Abyss payoff either. So I'm just wondering, as time gets closer, if that's not eventually all factored in, and that's one of the pivotal guys in the whole Aces and Eights storyline. Overall,
I find on a whole, Impact was a pass again, like you had said as well. We've got progression. We got some wrestling by the book, in the beginning when we got the tag team number one contenders, plural, wrestling each other to a draw because of, disqualification of the match or, interference. So we get the three-way at the pay-per-view. Again, that's wrestling ABCs. So pass. Folks, the number to call in, we are going to be going to the phone zone once we come back from break, 877-317-9772 or area code 347-996-5278. Matthew, we're going to head to break. Are you ready for the phone zone? These guys are crazy here. This isn't Monday Night Meltdown, man. I just want you to know this.
I am buckled in, Meathead. I am prepared. Let's hit it.
Folks, you are listening to Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be right back.
Go to pwrshow.com right now to get your Pro Wrestling Report wrestling merchandise. All kinds of great gear available, including several T-shirts from the Pro Wrestling Report, such as the Fella shirt. You hear it a lot on TV. Well, show your friends your support with the Fella T-shirt. And there's more, including the Super Friends T-shirt. David Hero always talks about his Super Friends. I like to call them the Mighty Mouse Club. But you can get your shirt, your Super Friends shirt, and show support right now at pwrshow.com. Also, the Tremendous shirt. You hear it all the time. Hash mark Tremendous. Available right now at pwrshow.com. And you see this shirt in brown? Well, every shirt comes in a multitude of different colors. No extra cost depending on the color you choose, including red for DHHS. David Hero has spoken. Well, get the shirt. You've seen it on wrestling pay-per-views of all places. But here's the shirt. DHHS David Hero has spoken. You can purchase that right now at pwrshow.com. And now the main event, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you watching us here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You've heard about Austin 316. Well, you've heard about it because it started right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at King of the Ring 1996. Well, why wouldn't you want to show Milwaukee 316? Yes, indeed. Celebrate wrestling history here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. On the back, all the wrestling pay-per-views that have occurred in Milwaukee, all listed on the back of the Milwaukee 316 shirt. Very popular shirt. You're going to see these all over in the Milwaukee area, and you can purchase them right now, all on sale right now at pwrshow.com. Head on over right now and pick up your Pro Wrestling Report merchandise.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, real.
Welcome back to Sudden Impact Radio on Blog Talk Radio, the man they call Meathead, along with Matthew Thomas. Tonight we are talking about Impact Wrestling. Just went off the air at 9 o'clock Central, and when it goes off the air, we go live on Blog Talk Radio, brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Report. I feel like I just sold some Charmin tissue or something, like I was given a commercial. Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Yeah, I'd buy some.
Would you buy that for $1? I'd buy that for $1. Hey, did you know that they're making a new RoboCop?
No way.
They're redoing the RoboCop gimmick.
Wow.
And Samuel L. Jackson's in there.
And like new versions like that. That's the ticket, man.
Yeah, but I'm having a hard time, which we saw a lot tonight of Judge Dredd. Yeah. Big fan of the comic. I didn't read all of them, but I did read them. But love the pinball game, if you've ever played it. And I actually like the Sylvester Stallone version. So I don't know where I stand on Bones from Star Trek being Judge Dredd, but we'll see tomorrow. It comes out.
Right. You'll be at the midnight showing, right?
Yeah. We need to get off the air here quickly. Phone zone 877-317-9772 or the area code 347-996-5278. Let us start off with. Matthew, I don't know if you've ever had any actual interaction with this gentleman. He's going to be our first caller tonight. He has called into the Monday Night Meltdown many times. He used to call into our ESPN radio show, and he does call into Sudden Impact. From the 901 area code, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is Curryhead.
Oh, my goodness.
What's up, Meathead?
Oh, Curryhead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
How you doing, Matthew, man?
I am doing phenomenal, Curryhead. How are you tonight?
I still haven't forgot you, Matthew. I got you hooked up at Blizzard Ball this year, man.
I got you, man. I got you. Everybody needs some companionship every now and then.
Amen to that, my brother. And I like the Christianity.
What's up?
By the way, I like this program. It was a good, clean ABC program, like you said. It was a KISS program, what I call a KISS program. And you know what that means? Keep it simple, stupid. It was simple.
Oh, okay.
It was simple. Everything was simple. You got your tag team, you got your women's title, you got your heavyweight title. All those matches are lining up. You even got a year-long program that was building since a couple weeks after Bound for Glory. Even though it's not for the title, that was the only thing that I thought it was going to be for the title with James Storm and Robert Roode. I like that match. The only thing I want to know is what they're going to do with Bully Ray. I keep calling him Bubba. Bully Ray. Are they going to make him into this tag team, into this championship match? If not, then that's my only thing for him, because he is right now is one of the hottest the hottest person in TNA that doesn't even have that's not in a storyline. That's not officially in a storyline right now. And also, I do like this Joey Ryan thing. I even like how they finally using this what's the business brother Joseph Parks thing.
Joseph Parks. Mm-hmm.
I like how they're using Joseph Parks because think about it. Joseph Parks, there has been some shenanigans with Joseph Parks for the past year, for almost this whole entire year. This Joseph Parks thing has been some, excuse me for saying this, Tiberius Hero, some shenanigans with him. I do not like it. It's just stupid. But I like how they did this with the Aces and A. And also, I'm thinking, I finally figured this Aces and 8 thing out. And I'm being serious when I say this. What about D'Lo Brown? You've been seeing a lot more D'Lo Brown in the backstages not this week, but the last couple of weeks. And according to sources from you and other organizations, they keep saying D'Lo Brown is one of the masked men of the Aces and A's. I'm worried about that idea, Matthew and Meathead. Well, I got to go. I got to go make my money.
Curryhead, yeah, he's going to make his money. Curryhead, thank you for the call again. A little quick on the mute there, sorry, buddy. D'Lo Brown, that would be a stretch, but I'll tell you what, he probably is out there working. As long as he stays under the mask, what does it matter? Who's under the mask? But it's when they unmask him that it actually makes a difference. But yeah, D'Lo Brown's probably out there doing his thing. You can't just have a bunch of unskilled, no names that are just going out there roughing people up. You put talent guys under there, and then when it's ready to do the reveal, then you put the actual guys under there and you lift the masks up. But the D'Lo Brown, I don't know. We've actually seen more of Jason Hervey on TV than we really have of D'Lo Brown, and I don't want Jason Hervey in Aces and Eights either.
That's something I have not even pondered, but let's just, I'm going to try not to think about that.
I'm trying not to think about it either. Like I said, I get the chills when I think I'll Garrett Bischoff.
Wow.
That was probably our best call out of Curryhead ever, by the way. I think he was on his best behavior because of you.
Yeah, he really, I guess made a first impression tonight. So that was pretty impressed.
Perfect. Let's go back to the phones. How about the 617 area code? 617, your name and where are you calling from?
How's it going, guys? This is Adam from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada.
We love the pause because you don't have to say it. Just do it. Very nice.
A dramatic call, correct?
Yes.
Of course. First of all, I've got to say, I know, actually, I want to bring up something really, really quickly. There was a bit of controversy. I saw the little primetime thing with Damian Nelson doing his little flip out. I respect the program that you guys do every single week, and to be honest with you, I actually sometimes prefer it over the meltdown, just because I love how professional that all of you guys are on this station. So I just want to give props to you guys. Like, you do an amazing job every single week.
You are the first and probably will be the last, Adam. I do thank you, but I've never been called professional in my life, ever.
Well, there you go.
But we do try to do our best. That I will say.
As for tonight, I thought the Gut Check Kid was actually not bad. With a few more years under his belt, he could actually probably be pretty good. The crowd really seemed to love him. And I think in somewhere with, like, Devon's training camp or whatever, I think with him working there for a few more years, he can actually develop to be someone, pretty credible in the future.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd actually, for the first time ever, I'd love to give props to the TNA commentary team. And
really?
I know it sounds weird, but it caught me it was one comment that Mike Tenay said. Now, usually when, say, for example, John Cena hits like an AA or whatever on Mark Henry or The Big Show, 6 months later, he'll do it again, and the commentary team will be, like, shocked and trying to convince us that it's never happened before, right, and it's so incredible. And tonight, they mentioned when Aries was going for the Brainbuster earlier in the match on Bully Ray, they acknowledged that he has done it before, and he could probably do it again if he gets the timing right. To me, I thought that was just incredible. They're not making us feel like idiots. We know that it's happened before, and it also gives a little bit more credibility to the actual move that he can hit it on a guy like Bully Ray or anybody and hit it from anywhere.
Yeah, it's actually respectful to the lineage of the program itself because, I mean, if you think about it, we know the moves. We have the internet. That's what internet has done to our wrestling program. So to tell me, that it's never happened before, first time ever, just tell it. And we kind of mentioned this, Adam, earlier in the program. It's kind of like they, over the last year, really this mesh of MMA type wrestling, where it's wrestling but not as much jerking around. You know what I mean? Where it's not as much corniness happening. I enjoy it, and that little piece that you picked up on, and I didn't pick it up. So kudos to you. But that little piece you picked up on just adds credence to everything else that we've been talking about.
Absolutely. Now, my question for you guys tonight is, do you think that the triple threat tag match, or even Rude and Storm, do either of those matches, in your opinion, need a stipulation for Bound for Glory, just for the fact that usually Bound for Glory, they have a lot of gimmick-style matches and a lot of different things that they usually throw at us all at once. So do you see either of those matches needing a stipulation? And if so, what would you give it at least? So thank you very much again, guys.
Yep, Adam, thank you for the call. Matthew, I'm gonna start off with, I'll take a match and you can have a match. I'm going to start off with the triple threat tag team match. I don't feel that there should be any kind of stipulation/gimmick unless they're going to do a tornado style. Other than that, there's really no need for it. Now, if you want to take the James Storm, Bobby Roode, I have my feelings on it, but I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, and just to kind of comment on the tag match real quick, I think to a certain extent it's not a very gimmicky gimmick match per se, but a triple threat tag match is still a little bit of a gimmick. It's not a traditional tag match. And for Bobby Roode, James Storm, I think what you saw tonight with it being a brawl like you saw on TV, I don't think you're going to get a street fight or anything like that, because I think you got that tonight. So with the way they booked it tonight, with having the brawl, most of it on the outside of the ring, it seems to me to make you actually want to pay money to buy an actual official match between these two guys, to just let them get in the ring and settle it and let there be a clear victor.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw this out to Adam as well. The reason that the previous Bound for Glory seemed to have all those gimmicks, because maybe they just had to hide the fact that they didn't have as much to sell to you on the pay-per-view. The gimmicks were always associated with Abyss, so you'd always have a Monsters Ball type thing. But Abyss apparently isn't wrestling because he's been kidnapped by Joseph Parks has been kidnapped by aces and eights and got hit with a ball-peen hammer. So there goes one of the gimmick matches. RVD obviously was in a Monsters Ball with Abyss, because he was talking about his extensive Bound for Glory, background and his history. Were you laughing at that like I was?
Yeah, well, see, the Samoa Joe one I really liked, and it's kind of giving Bound for Glory some history, but I'm thinking the whole time...
I was talking about the RVD one.
RVD is not who you want to be doing a voiceover for
no,
something like that.
The Samoa Joe one, I actually was sitting with Damien in Chicago watching that because that happened at the Sears Center while we were watching the Terror Dome. So that was, again, good stuff. I think we're going to take another break. We're going to start ramping it up to the finish here. So we're going to head on out to commercial. When we come back, we'll give our final thoughts, talk a little bit more about what's coming up next week on Sudden Impact Radio and Impact Wrestling Live. You're listening to Sudden Impact Radio right here on Blog Talk Radio. Welcome back to Sudden Impact Radio on Blog Talk Radio, the man they call Meathead, along with Matthew Thomas. I do want to throw out to the chatmosphere. I know that Damien's got his term for it, but the chatosphere is what I like to call it. Jamion Gaddis says that apparently it is called the TNA Asylum. Does that sound right, Matthew? Not the Terror Dome, the TNA Asylum?
I was thinking the Asylum was the original building in
the arena that they wrestled in Memphis, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure, but then again, that's what I got you guys for. I've got you to hopefully help us out. The Internet Wrestling Community, the IWC. So again, this week on Primetime, you got David Hero, you've got Damian Nelson, and they're going to be wrapping up everything that happened in the week of wrestling. They're going to talk about what happened this last week on Raw, Star of the Week. What other gimmicks did Damian and Dave have on the program, Matthew? I don't watch Primetime.
Yeah, I think you summarized them pretty good right there.
That wasn't a shot. I was trying to be funny. Apparently, Dave and Damien don't think I'm funny enough, so I thought I'd make a joke at their expense. I spent a long time in David Hero's basement, and I didn't think that was funny either.
Well, that's just knowing that you returned, because I wouldn't imagine a lot of people return from Hero's basement. Just that you're walking amongst the living now. I mean, that's a testament to your strong will and fortitude right there, Meathead.
And again, we're all in the world of doing kayfabe and whatnot. Can I really give you guys a quick rundown of what really has happened? I have been in that basement. I mean, we joke about people getting locked in. I've been in that basement, helping out Dave with a situation, but I was lucky to get out alive.
Yeah,
I thought I was going to be trapped.
I'm sure you grew as a person from that experience, though.
I became a better person after that, Dave. Thank you. So let's do this. Matthew, we're going to talk about our Impact final thoughts. Now, what we want to talk about is what happened last week on Impact, what our build-up was to this week on Impact, and really, let's talk about it here. We got the Aces and Eights. We got more progression from Aces and Eights. There's more interaction between Hulk Hogan, and there's interaction between Joseph Parks, who has this quote-unquote evidence. And as you saw with the interaction, Aces and Eights contacted Hulk Hogan by cell phone and said, I'll tell you what, we're into the legal business too. Now, Hulk Hogan never mentioned it on air, which is kind of great, because he's done a lot of things on air where he's kind of spoiled, angles that are coming up in the next couple minutes or next half hour or whatever. But he didn't actually lead on to Actually, they had Joseph Parks, and they had him tied up, and they had him trapped. And when they got into the cage, Joseph Parks took a ball-peen hammer to the head. They also destroyed with a sledgehammer his laptop and all that evidence. So, Matthew, tell us what you thought from Impact this week, and what are you looking forward to next week?
My overall takeaway from the show this week was we've used the phrase multiple times tonight, but the continued progression to Bound for Glory. They did a good job of building intrigue to the pay-per-view with the announcement of the three-way tag, with the continued build to Rude Storm, and you're starting to get a little more depth to the Austin Aries character, especially as it pertains to this feud with this match with Jeff Hardy. You're starting to see a little bit more of this envious game of one-upsmanship coming out from Austin Aries that I hope will continue to progress over the next several weeks. One thing that I really did like about the show as well was the fact that we still get the continued intrigue, especially as it pertains to Bully Ray's his intervention basically into the main event picture, as it would appear. You've got reasons to turn in to the show next week. It's not a matter of, okay, this is the Bound for Glory card. The next 2 weeks, let's put it on cruise control, and we'll cross our fingers and hope you buy it. You have a reason to tune in next week. There are still unsettled things out there. So by the continued progression and continuing to building that intrigue there, I think they did a hell of a show.
Yeah, and Matthew, you kind of really hit it on the head. The thought going forward, the final Impact thought going forward is progression, continuation of what they're doing. And you're right, it's not on cruise control. It actually is giving you pieces at a time. It gave you a heel turn from Tara, so now she'll go up against Ms. Tessmacher. It also gave you a triple threat tag team match. It also gave you the building storyline between Austin Aries, Jeff Hardy, who's apparently got a Hall of Fame bank account to go along with his Hall of Fame talents, and a unknown, a wild card, if you will, Bully Ray, who doesn't have anything set in stone yet at Bound for Glory. So I would like to see him somehow intertwined, interacting inside that main event title picture. So, coming up next week, and again, they're going to keep doing this week after week, folks. They're going to give you little pieces. Hopefully at Bound for Glory we get a reveal of who the Aces and Eights really are. Give us a face. Give us a name. Give us a person. Why, give us a backstory. Why they're Aces and Eights. Why they did what they did to the TNA, locker room, the TNA company, and the TNA championship. Why they went after Sting in their initial, attack on TNA. Give us a background as to, and you mentioned it before here on the very program on Sun and Impact Radio. Give us a background to what happened to Abyss and what happened to Joseph Parks, and why are the two still separate from each other? What happened?
Absolutely, still a lot of questions to be answered, and that's why we've got 2 more weeks until Bound for Glory.
Yeah, good stuff. So, final thoughts tonight, Matthew, before we head off. Besides what we're getting from Impact, I want you to kind of think back over the last year. And again, we got a little bit extra time here tonight. I want you to think back over the last year. Since I can't say removal. For a lack of a better term, we'll say since the asking Vince Russo to leave the company and bringing Bruce Pritchett on, full time to do what he does, and Al Snow kind of in charge of creative, VP of Talent Relations as he's called now. How do you feel overall TNA's progression has been as far as a wrestling company keeping continuity with what they're doing in the ring and, out in front of the camera?
The biggest change for me has been mainly in the way that TNA title means something now. For years, my biggest grief with TNA was I would watch the matches, I'd buy the pay-per-views, and when that main event time rolled around, while there was some excellent wrestling there was excellent wrestling all throughout it, there were very few storylines or programs that I could really get invested in because I felt like the title was basically hot potatoed all the time, basically between former WWE guys, and there was always excellent in-ring work, but there was really not a lot for me to sink my teeth into as far as storylines and also as far as the perception that belt really mattered. And over the last year, you have seen a nearly year-long reign with Bobby Roode, and they've gone the direction in Austin Aries now where I really feel like they felt there was that buzz out there with this guy, and let's take our chance and let's go in this direction. So, and I hope is a fairly lengthy title reign with him. So the two main things that really stand out to me is that belt seems to mean something now, and you have storylines that they get a little bit gimmicky, they get a little bit B-movie-ish at times. The whole deal with AJ and Claire, that whole thing. But
I pretend it doesn't happen. It didn't happen.
but there is with the aces and eights, there's continued there's continued things going on that they are addressing each week. It's not this game that we used to see all too often of, okay, here's a storyline, we're going to have it on 1 week and drop it for the next 3, and then if it's convenient, we're going to bring it back up at some point in the future. There seems to be a lot more order, a lot more flow, and just it seems to matter more now.
Definitely a lot more flow. Again, not perfect, not even close to perfect. Apparently the Knockouts tag team champions show up about once every 6 months, and one of them's a guy with a penis, so and they're married to each other. So that doesn't happen. ODB just signed a new deal with the company, and where is she at? I mean, I understand that her partner right now is doing a Catching Wild muskrats TV show on some wild channel. EY just giving you a hard time. TNA Creative do listen to this program, Matthew. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, the booking committee actually pay attention to this because, ironically enough, we would mention stuff on this program, and they seem to be fixed within a week or two time.
Funny how that works out, huh?
One of my biggest beefs, again, you haven't been on the program before, but I'll just kind of fill you in on some backstory here. One of my biggest beefs was always with professional wrestling talents using Twitter. And, that interaction between, are they tweeting real life or are they tweeting their wrestling life? And then people that were tweeting that were wrestlers, tweeting during a show that they're out at the movies, during a taped show, that would really drive me nuts. Give me some reality. Now, if I'm supposed to buy into what's going on TV, stop telling me that, the president is available on Twitter, and go to Twitter. Use the hashtag this or the hashtag that. So, be that as it may, folks, don't forget to tune into. I think they both work, don't they?
Yeah, you can use them both.
Tune into. Yeah. Make sure to watch Primetime this week with Damian Nelson and David Hero. Also, lots of shenanigans, of course, going to be coming up. They're going to be doing a Survivor Series, Sweet and Sexy, out in Indianapolis. I don't know if tickets are still available or not. I haven't talked to the interns in a while. But definitely head on over to pwrshow.com. And if tickets are available, they are going to be limited. That is for sure. I know we've done some great parties here in Milwaukee. For Raw, we've also done great parties at WrestleMania. Matthew, you headed up to WrestleMania this year in a big NYC?
That is the plan. That is the plan. So, yeah, might get a little dangerous.
Yeah, I've been stuck in David Hero's basement for the last 3 years and haven't been, let's just say, invited to WrestleMania the last 3 years. So, the big NYC, man, I've been there once. It was by mistake, and I would love to get back. Long story short, I was traveling from Raleigh up to Milwaukee and got diverted, stuck in New York City for 3 hours. Best 3 hours of my life and the worst 3 hours of my life, but be that as may. We are going to be back next week right after Impact goes off the air. You will get Sudden Impact Radio. Don't forget to tune in, like I said, primetime this Saturday night, locally here on My24, also available on the website at pwrshow.com. And make sure you're tuning into the Monday Night Meltdown Monday nights with Damian Nelson, David Hero, Matthew Thomas. I'm in the background somewhere. And Matthew, you and I will start talking about a little bit of Impact. I think we're going to infiltrate Monday Night Meltdown and get our TNA talk on in there as well. So,
all right.
Awesome. For Matthew Thomas, I am the man they call Meathead. Thank you for listening to Sudden Impact Radio tonight, part of the Pro Wrestling Report. Good night.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, real.